Hello everyone, welcome to 10-Minute Physiology. In today's video, I'm going to give you a short explanation as to how the heart beats. Now in this video, I'm not really going to be talking about the action potentials of the heart. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on the conduction pathways. So we're going to talk about where the normal heartbeat originates and how that signal is going to be passed through the entire heart so that the heart acts as a pump. So with that, let's begin. So I'm going to start off by first reviewing the general function of each chamber in the heart. So the first chamber is the right atrium, and the right atrium is going to receive blood from the rest of the body. So it receives blood from the rest of the body, and this blood is going to be deoxygenated. Now, from the right atrium, the blood will go into the right ventricle, and the right ventricle pumps blood into the pulmonary circulation where the blood is going to be oxygenated. The oxygenated blood will then flow into the left atria, then into the left ventricle, and then the left ventricle pumps blood to the rest of the body. So there are also two valves that you should be concerned about. The first valve is the tricuspid valve, which separates the right atrium from the right ventricle. And then the mitral valve separates the left atrium from the left ventricle. So with that, how does the heart beat? So where does the signal for the heart to beat originate? Well, the signal is initiated in a specific region in the right atrium called the SA node. So the SA node is basically this clump of spontaneously firing pacemaker cells. So the SA node is made up of pacemaker cells, and these pacemaker cells initiate action potentials, and they initiate these action potentials spontaneously and independently of the nervous system. So in other words, the SA node is sort of like a little mini nervous system. It can fire action potentials without modulation from the nervous system. So the SA node is going to be pacemaker cells, which release these spontaneous action potentials, which will then travel through the rest of the heart. Now, in a normal healthy heart, the SA node is going to be the originator of the heartbeat. So in other words, in a healthy heart, the SA node is what's going to determine the heart rate. So typically, a normal healthy heart is going to have a heart rate between 60 and 100 beats per minute. If it's above 100 beats per minute, this would mean that the person is tachycardic. And if the person has a heart rate below 60, this would mean that the person has bradycardia, or a slow heart rate. So from the SA node, we get these spontaneous action potentials. And these action potentials move across the atria into a specific point called the AV node. So the AV node is another set of pacemaker cells, but these pacemaker cells in a normal healthy heart do not determine the heart rate. And this is because the pacemaking ability of the AV node is slower than the SA node. So since the SA node is a faster pacemaker, so in other words, it releases more action potentials per minute, the AV node is not going to determine the heart rate. Instead, the AV node sort of acts as a pause point. So when the SA node releases these action potentials and they move across the atrial myocytes into the AV node, these signals are sort of paused there. And the reason why they're paused there is it because it allows the atria to pump and fully fill the ventricles with blood before the ventricles pump. So it sort of acts as a buffer system to allow the ventricles to fill up and then to pump as much blood as they can. So the AV node is sort of going to be this pause point. Now from the AV node, the signal is going to move down the bundle of His. So the bundle of His will then take these action potentials and move it down the septa through the left and right bundle branches. So you have the right and left His bundles. So the signal moves from the AV node down these right and left His bundles. So from the right and left His bundles, we have these Purkinje fibers. So these Purkinje fibers are basically these little branches of cardiomyocytes that will transduce the action potentials into the ventricular myocytes. So once again, the signal starts from the SA node. It travels through the atrial myocytes to the AV node. The signal then pauses there, and then once the signal is released from the AV node, it moves down the bundle of His, down the right and left His bundles, and then down the Purkinje fibers where it will depolarize the ventricular myocytes. And then once the ventricular myocytes are depolarized, it causes contraction. So that is going to be how the heart beats in general. So before we end this video, I just want to talk about how the heart acts as a synestasium. So right here we have two cardiomyocytes, and these are the cells that make up the heart. So let's just say we have a voltage-gated ion channel, and let's say we depolarize this voltage-gated ion channel. So when we depolarize the voltage-gated ion channel, we cause it to open, allowing an ion to flow in. Now, in between the cardiomyocytes, we have these intercalated discs. So these intercalated discs are basically these regions of gap junctions that allow ions to pass from one cell to another. So through this intercalated disc, this ion will flow to the next cell. And when it flows to the next cell, it opens it and allows more ions to flow into the second cell. So what we see here is that the signal is passed from this cell to this cell. And this is what happens in the heart, because in the heart, we have the cardiomyocytes, which make up the cardiac muscle, and the cardiomyocytes have these intercalated discs. And these intercalated discs allow the ions to pass from cell to cell, and it therefore allows the heart to act as an electrical synestasium. So in other words, it allows the heart to act as a highly efficient pump that's sort of unified in action. So what are we going to look at in the next series of videos? So in the next series of videos, we're going to look in more detail into how the heart beats. So we're going to look at what slow action potentials are, which is what the pacemaker cells do, so the SA node, what fast action potentials are, and we're also going to look at how the heart rate is regulated in general. So I hope this video helped you have an understanding of the basics as to how action potentials are conducted through the heart, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.